the US is going to become the crypto capital of the whole world. That's what Donald Trump is saying now in Davos. And the entire financial elite is watching. The whole world is watching. The whole spotlight is on Donald Trump right now. And the likelihood of a strategic Bitcoin reserve is now on the rise. New all-time high. Especially since there are new developments around Cynthia Lummis, who would now be promoted to a new position. She is now the chair of the subcommittee on digital assets. And that means a strategic Bitcoin reserve is getting closer. It's now even being said here by CSAT that a strategic Bitcoin reserve is nearly confirmed. He's saying that here in a new statement. And what's going on right now is really intense. Because Donald Trump hasn't said much about Bitcoin or crypto for a long time. Everyone has been asking, when is the strategic Bitcoin reserve coming? Are any executive orders coming out here? What's the situation? What's the current situation around Bitcoin? Around crypto? And now Donald Trump is actually saying here, hey, the USA is stepping up for crypto. We need to make a distinction here, because Donald Trump isn't saying Bitcoin here, he's saying crypto. So, the question is whether we're really going to dive into Bitcoin or if we're going to end up with a strategic altcoin reserve instead. A lot of people are already suspecting that Donald Trump basically doesn't get Bitcoin and is ultimately getting lost in his shitcoinery. And then he put some meme coins into the strategic Bitcoin reserve. As I said, we still don't have an official confirmation for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, but it really looks very, very crazy right now. And things are really heating up again. First, let's take a look directly at the World Economic Forum and listen in on what Donald Trump has to say. Because this is really, I'd say, incredibly intense. What Donald Trump has to say. Because this is really, I'd say, unmatched in terms of intensity. It's okay if he says stuff like that at a Bitcoin conference. He already said something like that at a Bitcoin conference. Like, yeah, the USA is going to become this crypto Bitcoin country and all that. That we want to keep the remaining Bitcoin all in the USA. But when you say that here at the World Economic Forum, and then this is definitely a whole different ball game. And so check out what she has to say here.
That reduces the cost of almost everything. So, you all, it's going to make the USA a superpower in production technology. Half of artificial intelligence.
This belongs here. Michael Saylor also posted about it again and says here, the United States will be the world capital of cryptocurrencies. And that's really crazy here. Let's check this out. That's something like this here. A president from the most powerful, the largest country in the world. Here, he says. And like I said, he's not saying this at a Bitcoin conference, but he's actually saying it here in Davos. And that definitely has some weight. And we also know now that he's definitely keeping his promises here. Donald Trump has really kept his promises more or less so far. Also with Ross Ulbricht, all the other things he announced here. Of course, you can criticize now. Then sometimes the executive order for Ross Ulbricht was a day or two late. Also, I'd say he hasn't sold any Bitcoin yet. He mentioned that too. And now it could actually be the case that a stockpile is created here. That would really fit into the whole setup. And then the question is, when will that happen? Donald Trump didn't say he would do that right on the first day. Or something like that. He would probably do that during his presidency. And that's basically it. That's what you need to pay attention to. Okay, what's happening now? And now, some really exciting things have been happening in the background. Because now something has changed in the background. Around Cynthia Lummis. And Cynthia Lummis is also the woman who's responsible. Here, basically pushing the Bitcoin bill forward. So the strategic Bitcoin reserve, basically a big supporter, who even suggested selling gold to buy Bitcoin. And now, check this out. Here it says that the Bitcoin-friendly Senator Cynthia Lummis will take over as chair of the Subcommittee on Digital Assets in the U.S. Senate. And here's another statement from her. Digital assets are the future. And if the United States wants to remain a leader in financial innovations worldwide, Congress urgently needs to pass a bipartisan law that creates a comprehensive legal framework for digital assets and strengthens the U.S. dollar with a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So, the crazy thing is that Cynthia Lummis is really pushing for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, but now she's in a new role where she obviously has even more power. On top of that, we have Donald Trump talking about a crypto world capital or something like that. So, you really need to pay attention here. What's happening right now? And on top of that, something really, really crazy is happening. In the background, Donald Trump is still buying Bitcoin. He's not buying actual Bitcoin, but he's buying the shitcoin version of Bitcoin, so wrapped Bitcoin. But, in the end, wrapped Bitcoin also means price exposure to the Bitcoin price. So that means when wrapped Bitcoin is bought, you still benefit from a Bitcoin pump. And we'll get to Donald Trump's purchases in just a moment, because that might not be a coincidence, as many people suspect here. Now we have a statement about the crypto capital, and then Cynthia Lummis is stepping into her new position. The likelihood of a strategic Bitcoin reserve is increasing. And just before all this happens, Donald Trump is buying up Bitcoin massively here, Bitcoin. But before we dive into that, just a quick note about CSET, who's saying, hey, all presidents will be talking about how to adopt crypto soon, if not already. That's basically the first thing she said here. That basically all presidents will soon be talking about crypto, about Bitcoin. That it obviously has some real impact. The Putins, the Xi Jinpings, the Chinese CEO, the Chinese leader, the Chinese president, all the presidents around the world, even Olaf Schnitz. And so on, they obviously have to confront this now. And on top of that, she's actually saying now. US Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Pretty much confirmed. And then you see a picture of Cynthia Lummis. And that's exactly what I meant. That it now kind of looks like. Like if the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve really happens. Cynthia Lummis has also announced it big time. Has basically said here, yes. At 10 o'clock here, American time, there's going to be a really big announcement. So everyone was already speculating about it. The Strategic Bitcoin Reserve is coming. The Strategic Bitcoin Reserve is coming. But it didn't quite happen that way after all. But indirectly, we might now have something like a Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, at least, I'd say, a preliminary one. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. So, now the legislation is being laid out like this. That there are now open doors for the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, that Cynthia Lummis just needs to combine the right things together. And Cynthia Lummis has already met with Donald Trump. They met even before, let's say, Cynthia Lummis's inauguration, before her new position. And then Cynthia Lummis has also made hints about the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve time and again. Hey, did you tweet about the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve? Back and forth. And what do I know? And that's why all the rumors have come up now. Everyone was expecting that a Strategic Bitcoin Reserve was coming. It didn't quite turn out that way. But this could be the next step. That's coming here. Some people have also said, hey, there's not going to be a Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, but rather a Strategic Shitcoin Reserve. But now that Cynthia Lummis is in office and can basically help make decisions and regulate, she's definitely going to push more for a Bitcoin reserve and less for a shitcoin reserve. And now there's been a lot of criticism because that's what we need to look at. Here with Donald Trump's Bitcoin purchases. Because Donald Trump is buying Bitcoin here, then he makes statements like that, and then things happen with Cynthia Lummis. And here, Jason Myers has actually expressed some really, really big criticism. And he sums up the situation really, really simply. You learn something about Bitcoin and want a piece of it. You also find out that people can create their own cryptocurrencies and pump them up. So they can pump it up. They're trying it out with World Liberty Financials. It works to a certain extent. They learned that meme coins work the best. Your personal brand is a complete meme. They're launching their own Trump coin meme just before they're no longer legally allowed to. It works. Overnight, most of Trump's wealth is made up of crypto meme tokens. But they were told that the goal is to own more Bitcoin. So start converting your crypto assets into Bitcoin. You want Bitcoin. Don't pump it up with a Strategic Bitcoin Reserve regulation until they've filled their pockets with Bitcoin. But once you have that, you want Bitcoin to boom. For Trump, the incentives are, first, to stock up on Bitcoin for himself, and then second, to stock the country up with Bitcoin while enriching himself in the process. His recent moves are step 1, and next comes step 2. This is the crazy accusation that Donald Trump is in phase 1. Donald Trump is in phase 1, and phase 1 means you have to fill your own pockets a lot. Is in phase 1. And phase 1 here means you have to fill your own pockets massively. When you've got your pocket stuffed, then you dive right into Bitcoin. And now there are even more people. They say, hey, Donald Trump didn't buy Bitcoin directly, he bought wrapped Bitcoin. And that basically comes from a legal standpoint. So from a legal standpoint, it can't really be claimed that he did anything wrong. He basically drove the Bitcoin price up before he filled his pockets. If he buys Bitcoin, then he's kind of off the hook because you can say, okay, he only has a derivative for Bitcoin, he doesn't have any direct Bitcoin and so on. I don't know if the accusation is true, whether that's something to go along with. But in any case, there are currently allegations. I gotta say, there's definitely a bit of a sketchy vibe to the whole situation. But the crazy part is, if Donald Trump is currently filling his pockets and we're in phase 1, then the next phase is going to be an absolute, massive bull run, where Trump will start pumping the Bitcoin price up big time. We need to be a little cautious here because these are basically just accusations and assumptions. Nobody really knows for sure. We also know by now that Donald Trump doesn't seem to get it himself. What's going on with his meme coins? A lot of people also think that he doesn't have any influence over it. That it was just some developer teams around Donald Trump who did this. Who basically just used his name. And Donald Trump probably wasn't even in direct communication with them and might have even been scammed or played, whatever. Definitely, the developments are really, really interesting. Then Larry Fink joins the World Economic Forum and talks about a $700,000 Bitcoin price. Bitcoin is going to hit $700,000. Bitcoin may. It can rise to $700,000 because Bitcoin is basically a global asset because it's a hedge against inflation. Because it's a form of protection from political interference and a lot more. So, right now, a lot is coming together. You gotta say, the Bitcoin price is still hanging in there pretty well. We're currently at 105,000 US dollars, slightly in the green, just under the all-time high. We haven't seen the Spinosaurus whatever candle yet that shoots straight to the moon. We haven't seen that yet. But like I said, if what Jason Myers and the others are saying is true, then we're now in phase 1. Phase 1 means filling your pockets, pushing the whole thing down a bit. Not going too hard on the hype yet. Phase 2 means making it all public. Really going all out and then actually pumping the Bitcoin price up massively. Let me know what you think about it. How you assess the current situation here. Is the US going to become a crypto stronghold? Is it going to be a Bitcoin stronghold or a shitcoin stronghold? How are you using that right now? And now I have a big recommendation for you. And by the way, check out coin tracking. There you can track your taxes. It also tracks portfolios. Track your Bitcoin and crypto holdings. You can also use it as a portfolio tracker. You can see which coins are tax-free and which ones aren't. Here you can automate tax reports. That's a really big recommendation. Because you should definitely keep an eye on that you really have a handle on your taxes. It's optimal, here with coin tracking. I'll put a link down below for you. Here you can even get a discount on signing up for a pro account with the code COTEL. But you can also use it completely for free at first. I'll put a link in for you below. 21 Bitcoin, where you can easily and safely buy Bitcoin. Here you can get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin with the code COTEL. See you later. Peace out.